Genesis House and the Friends in Recovery podcast are proud to bring you Answering the Call, the First Responder podcast. Join your hosts, Mike the Podfather and Jersey Ed, as they address the real issues in health and wellness for first responders. From physical and mental health to relationships and work-life balance, we leave no stone unturned. Answering the Call, the First Responder podcast is available on Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, and YouTube, as well as iHeartRadio. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, here are your friends in recovery answering the call.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Answering the Call, the First Responders podcast. I am the Podfather, Mike Miles.
And I'm Jersey Ed from the garage of the isolation chamber. Again, another week.
Well,
Lockdown.
I'm here with the producer extraordinaire in Beverly, Mass. And who's over there? Who is our producer today?
Sweets the producer.
Sweets is looking good today. He has on a jogging suit.
Yeah.
And,
It's a little chilly out there, a little windy.
And
so,
high heels.
Yeah. Functional. The functional outfit.
He said it's good for the calves.
That's
I
right.
don't know what he means by that.
I have small calves, man. I'm trying.
Yeah, I miss you guys, man. This is getting tough sitting here doing this by myself. And,
I got to be honest. I kind of like having the studio to myself.
You got
This
all
is
that
nice.
elbow room. You got
This is
places to
unreal.
put stuff on the table.
right, look at that. Hey, real quick, I just want to tell you who our guest is. We're going to bring him on in a minute. Reverend Bill Hamilton. He does a lot of different things, but I know him through the state police. He's the chaplain for the state police. He's a fantastic guy. We'll bring him in a couple minutes, but I just want to kind of give everybody who our guest is going to be. Stay tuned, guys. This is a good show you're going to listen to today. So.
Yeah, looking forward to talking to the father. We got to talk about you, Ed, because I think you definitely need some guidance.
I think he prays for me. Anyways, he met me a few times, and I think he prays for me. He knows I'm from Jersey, so he says his prayers for me. God. But Podfather, so how you doing? It's your birthday. I know it's a couple shows, but we record everything the same day. It's your birthday. Happy birthday. I don't want to beat it dead horse.
Thank you.
See
You
you
can
and happy
beat it
birthday.
as much as you want. I hope somebody could send some gifts because, when you get old, birthdays really don't mean as much as they used to when you're younger. But if anybody wants to call in, talk to us. Should I give them the number, Ed?
Yeah. If you have the number, give it.
I do. It's 617-379-1163. So 1163. My badge number for 35 years was 163. And I have that on my police hat. I have it put away in a plastic bag for that day when, the family's looking to get all my stuff together and bring it over to the funeral parlor. It's all together. I got collages made up. It's going to be that funeral is going to be so good. I hope I can be there.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you'll be there. So
617-379-1163. I just wanted to put it out there again.
Yeah, and you can email us at help@friendsinrecoverypodcast.com and get all the information out. It's funny, we're talking about all this information now, and I know the police and the fire and everybody, they have all this information they have to pass along back and forth. But this is the age of information, man. Zoom, I'm here in my garage in Langhorne, Pennsylvania, doing this, and you guys are there. And if we never had any of this information or any of this technology, we would be stuck. I'm going to AA meetings at night and during the day. Genesis House is hosting 2 AA meetings a day. It's been amazing, like this podcast stuff. And but you guys, you as a first responder, Podfather, you guys been communicating like this for a long time. I mean,
Yeah, well, we had a guest on earlier, and he firefighter. He was the EAP, also still the EAP for the Providence. Was it Providence, Rhode Island, Eddie? And what a great job. It was a trip down memory lane, but it's always good listening to somebody that speaks the same language. That guy's been saving lives. Bill's been saving lives 37 years. Amazing,
Yeah, absolutely. No,
Great personality too. Very upbeat, very humorous. You just love being around people like that. Those are the type of people I work with over the years. You work with a guy, 2 different guys during 2 different shifts. You'd work 4 days on, 2 days off. So 2 days you're with one partner, and then the next 2 days you're another partner. But you know, you're closer to them than you are with your family. You spend more time with them than you do your family. So you get to know each other.
It's your work family.
It's your work family.
Yeah.
And you know, you go through some tough times, some funny times. You know, you see a lot of things as a police officer and a firefighter and EMS. You know, you see a lot of things that can be amusing, that can be very stressful and sad as well.
Well, that's why that brothership, that fellowship or sisterhood, whatever it might be,
Sure.
is, you know, so strong, because you really do. You really spend more time, more intimate time,
You do.
one-on-one time, talking time, and action time than a lot of times you do with your family.
So true, so true. And I'll get messages. I've been retired 5 years now. I can't believe it's gone by that fast. But
Yeah.
I'll, you know, hit one of the guys up for a question or maybe even a favor now. You know, and you know, we go down memory lane. It's just a few texts. But you're right, Eddie, about the this equipment we have that we can do all this. And this epidemic came out of nowhere, and we're muddling through it. And like you said, you can do AA meetings online. I mean, on Zoom, on DoxyMe, all these different sites
Yeah, it's
to do
fascinating.
therapy. Yeah.
Well, what was your main form of communication, Podfather, back in the day? I mean, you know, I'm sure it's different now, but did you see computers? Did you, obviously you had a radio, but
Right. Well,
but-
you would think, you know, in the beginning we had one radio, it was in the cruiser, and then they'd give you you'd sign out a portable radio, which was about it was big. It was about 14 inches long, and it was heavy and cumbersome. As time went on, everybody got their own radio. But in the 80s, early 80s, I started in 1980, January 1980. You know, the equipment was a lot different. There was no cell phones. There were call boxes. We used to have to pull up to a pole. There was a box. You open the box. There was a phone receiver. Went right to the dispatch radio room, and you would check in and say, "I just checked this area, car one," and they'd put you down on a sheet of paper. Of course, it's all different now, you know.
so you didn't have a radio when you went out in the field in a
No.
car or anything?
You'd have one radio between two guys. So if you jumped out of a cruiser and set out after somebody that you saw committing a crime, if you didn't have the radio on you, you were basically on your own. You
God.
know,
Wow.
and yeah, it's kind of scary. It's changed a lot. And I think back to the cops prior to me, the generation prior to me, they didn't have any radio, and if they arrested someone, they used to walk them to the police station. Now, can you imagine? It's hard enough to handcuff a 110-pound person, you know, even if you're a big, strong guy. It's really hard to do that. But these old beat cops from the 50s and 60s, when I came on, they were rugged men, and no women. But you know, now we have women on the department, and you know, it's the technology has really enhanced this job and given people the ability to do this job, and society benefits from it tenfold. I believe, my opinion.
Crazy. That's crazy.
Technology is great stuff.
Good stuff.
Sometimes.
Nobody
Sometimes.
knows better than you, Sweet. I've been up here in the studio with Sweet. He's got all these new toys coming in.
Mhm.
You know, I don't know whether owns part of FedEx or UPS, but there's a truck out here every 15 minutes dropping stuff off. It's
Hey,
unbelievable.
I got to stay up to date for you guys, man. Top notch equipment. Could you imagine going through what we're going through right now and not having access to the people the way we do? Like, I mean, there was I believe there was a flu epidemic in like the early 1900s that, you know, forced everyone to be shut down as well, quarantined
Right.
and locked down. And they clearly did not have Zoom and phones and text messages like we do. So, I mean, the ability to communicate with people and interact was almost minimal.
Sure. And it was
Like, that's true isolation.
absolutely.
You know, we're blessed to have this.
It was all written. It was all newspapers back then. You know,
Yeah.
there'd be
Oh,
someone.
yeah.
Every city had 3 or 4 newspapers in it. You know.
Yeah, real quick, I want to talk about something before we bring in Father Bill. Is faith. I think everybody's faith is a little different today than it is maybe even a month ago. I think there's a little more people kind of turning to their higher power. Like you and I know, and Sweets, we all know the higher power thing because of the program. But I mean, and being a police officer, I'm sure a lot of the police officers has a higher power because of the situations that they're in. But do you think that's going on a little bit more, a lot more faith coming out and all that as far as kind of believing and kind of understanding where this is going?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think so. And you know, I got St. Michael here. You know, and when I graduated from the police academy, my mother gave me a St. Michael medal and a St. Christopher medal. And St. Christopher was always big in my family, and still continues to be. All my kids and grandchildren, they all have cars. When they get them, I get them a St. Christopher medal. I get it blessed. And, if you're non-denominational or agnostic out there, it's just St. Christopher was a patron saint of travel and such. But I just feel like I have a client now, Eddie. I just want to tell you a quick story. It's funny you brought that up. And he was telling me the other day, and he was dead serious, he thinks the world is coming to an end. And I said, well, you would think that if you keep watching CNN, you're going to believe that. You're going to probably, you're going to probably start giving away all your worldly belongings. But, I think, people that can feel that. And if you do feel that way, I guess there's a good reason to, because no one's ever lived through this before in this generation.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna bring Father Bill in to kind of
He'll know more.
Situation. He'll definitely know more. I want to introduce Reverend William J. Hamilton. He was born November 29th. Should I leave the date out? Or are you okay with the date going in? Year, Bill.
Doesn't matter.
In Worcester, Massachusetts.
Nice.
He attended Holy Name High School. I guess he graduated in 1970. His college was Loyola University in New Orleans. Wow, a little party town you went to there. Seminary College was American of Louvain, Belgium, 76 to 80. He was ordained May 24th, 1980 at St. Michael's Cathedral in Springfield by the Most Reverend Joseph F. McGuire, I believe that is.
Yep.
He's a chaplain. He's a pastor. What else do we have here? He works, some of his accomplishments. He's with the state police as a chaplain since 1996. ATF chaplain overseeing all of New England since April of 2009. He's a member of the Knights of Columbus, 3rd and 4th degree, since 86. Esquire Order of Holy, what? Spirit? What is that?
Equestrian.
Equestrian Order of Holy
Sepulchre, knighted by his Holy Father John Paul II.
Wow.
I'm a noble sir.
And listen, wow. on and on. I got pages of this, Bill, but also I do want to. You assisted in both the
I look good on paper, believe me.
The Newtown, Connecticut, and the Boston bombings with the ATF. So welcome to the show, Bill.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on.
Pleasure. Just great. I couldn't help but think of the when you're talking about technology. I was also a chaplain reserve in the Air Force. And through seminary, when I was in Belgium, I was a what they call the chaplain candidate. And I got to go up back in, I think it was 1978 or around there, 77 or 78, into one of the planes that the president would at that time go up in if there was a crisis.
Wow.
And they gave me a tour of the plane, and the next thing I knew, I was sitting behind the desk with the presidential seal.
Oh,
and there happened to be a telephone there. And of course, this is 76. And I looked, I said, what's that for? We can call anywhere in the world. You want to make a phone call? So I said, sure. So I called my parents in Sutton, Massachusetts, somewhere flying over England. And it was as clear as what we're doing right now back then.
Amazing.
It's hysterical. How things have changed,
Yeah, absolutely.
How we communicate. And as chaplains, we didn't have a lot to communicate with. Departments were very reluctant to give us radios, and we were lucky if we had a pager, and we were on our own if we got called out. Things have changed. We do have radios, and I'm in constant contact with my departments now, but they still insist that I keep the pager. It hasn't rung in a long time. Cell phones have taken over everything.
Flintstones, yeah.
Does anybody even know how to use a pager nowadays?
I'm not sure. That's a good question.
No. The last time I had a pager, I think I was dialing my drug dealer when I was in recovery all those years ago. That's the last time I remember a pager. So
Yeah,
That's funny.
You're bringing some old thoughts up there. So, Father, we were just talking about the faith thing, and I know I'm Catholic. I grew up Catholic. I'm actually named after a priest, believe it or not, over in Sayreville, New Jersey, Monsignor Edward Dalton. He was a family friend of ours, and I was named after him. Unfortunately, I took another path of destruction, and but I came back, thank God. So,
Well, the bishop has always looked at me and shaken his head. And when it comes to my chaplains, one of the lines he has is, he's not exactly sure who's having the greater effect on who.
That's
But
a good line.
with all this stuff going on, and I know you've been housebound for a while before all this because of an injury, but do you see, or what's your thoughts of everything as far as faith goes? Because I'll be honest with you, I do love the Catholic Church. I get on my knees and pray, and me and the Podfather talk about it every day, all the time we're here. But I'm thinking about maybe getting involved in some church, a church now because of all this. I mean, maybe not the Catholic Church, but something different. I want to venture.
I'd encourage you to stay within the Catholic Church. Needless to say, we got a lot to do. But I do, I'm still a salesman, I'm not in management, I'm in sales. But the reality is, there's a great uptick in faith right now. And it's coming from the loss of what people normally do. The routine has been broken. People can't go to church. They can't do the things that they usually do. People are working in soup kitchens, helping out other people. And we've been told to stay home. And the difficulty is that people want to do things. People do want to help. And sadly, we even got, I dealt with an issue this morning where we've got guys that, they're still encouraging people to come out into their parking lots and to see things that they're doing at their church. And really, it's stay home. That's the safest place you can be. We don't need to be encouraging people to go out while others are telling us to stay. The reality of that is that God's grace and God's presence is just as powerful now as before. It's just different. And when we think about it, when we do a spiritual communion after watching Mass, having not been able to receive the host, the power of that grace that we receive from that is as strong spiritually at this moment as it is when we are physically present there. God provides. God doesn't need us to do God's work, but God chooses to use us to be as a physical presence and reminder that God is working in our lives. And so it's up for us to realize that God is acting. God's grace is sufficient. And here we are on Good Friday, on this particular podcast, where we have been saved by the blood of the cross, and that Jesus has risen from the dead, and that all we have to do is live as if we have been saved. We don't have, there's nothing we can do to earn it. We don't have to beg for it. We don't have to plead for it. That drives me crazy. I'm one of those guys that, I said, I believe that I have been saved. Now, what am I going to do because I am?
Right. That's a great point.
That's all of our points, I think. And so even when we're stuck at home, it's keeping some semblance of live streaming, broadcasting masses. I mean, the other day I watched one from my diocese, one from Rome, and one from Boston. And wow. I'm the director of the Office of Worship for the diocese, and so I love to see what other people are doing. Yeah, so it's good to be able to plug into those things.
Yeah. Well, the faith is the big part, and I know you're the chaplain for the mass department, the state troopers, and what now to a civilian like me, what is exactly a chaplain? Because we have other people watching. I know we have first responders on here most of the time, but what does the chaplain exactly do for the police or the state troopers or the order that you're serving?
A lot of times it's a ministry of presence, and it's a ministry of, sometimes I call it sanity, bringing a sense of sanity into a chaotic situation. When we are present, sometimes we don't even have to say anything. The fact that we are there, you get the glad you're here, Padre. My nickname is now Padre. I'm a Padre to everybody. That's just what that's a very endearing term too. And that when you show up on a scene, like when it was the Newtown shooting or the Boston bombing,
Father, real
into
quick,
a room and a sense of calm. It's not me, it's what I represent. I lost you.
real quick, yeah, we lost you there for a second. We're going to take a quick break, get your audio fixed up. We're going to talk about the Boston bombings and the Connecticut disaster.
Okay.
Give us a minute. We'll be right back, guys.
Okay.
Back to you,
Answering
Mike.
the Call, First Responders Podcast.
Since 1992, Genesis House has been helping real people heal from addiction on their private recovery campus in beautiful Palm Beach County, Florida. Their family-owned program is accredited by the Joint Commission and offers detox and dual diagnosis treatment in a comfortable and confidential setting. The First Responder Recovery Program at Genesis House is led by a doctorate-level therapist with direct professional experience as a first responder himself. Treatment modalities focus on psychiatric care, relapse prevention, stress management, and trauma-informed care for PTSD. Learn why their individualized approach makes a difference for first responders. Call Genesis House today at 1-800-737-0933 to speak with someone who understands. Visit them on the web at www.genesishouse.net. It's time to start your journey to a long and successful recovery.
Hold on. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Answering the Call, the First Responders Podcast. I am the Podfather, Mike Miles.
Yes, you are, and I'm Jersey Ed, stuck in the garage again, guys.
In the cave, and we got Sweets on the microphone.
I am in the background, doing background stuff.
And we have Father Bill.
Hey, I wanted to ask you guys a quick question before I go into the Jersey Ed podcast pick of the week. Sweets, are you in that back hall, like that big, huge back hall? Are you that far away from him?
No, I'm in the balcony. I'm in the balcony looking down.
He's upstairs.
Upstairs, yeah, upstairs. Yeah,
practicing your social distancing. So.
that's right. Yeah, about 30 feet up, about 20 feet back.
Nice.
Yep.
I'm
behind glass.
I'm
actually.
feeding him grapes with a slingshot.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, I always practice social distancing with you, Sweets, when I came into the studio. So.
Just as a general rule of thumb, I mean, we make sure there's enough feet, like
Right.
at least 6 feet between us.
At least. No less than.
Exactly. So real quick, guys, I want to give you the Jersey Ed podcast pick of the week, and give me that drum roll, please. Thank you, Sweets. Healing Vibrations. This is a pretty cool one. I've been listening to this. It's relaxing podcast music hosted by Dr. Harry Henshaw. Dr. Harry Henshaw is a licensed psychologist in Miami, Florida, and has been working in the behavioral health field for over 35 years. Dr. Henshaw is a musician trained as a child on the piano. The primary purpose of this therapeutic relaxation music is to help an individual experience a very deep state of relaxation and to reduce fear and anxiety. It's just music, and it's wonderful. It's a wonderful, wonderful podcast. You can find Dr. Henshaw's podcast anywhere you get your podcast catchers from. And if you have anywhere you get your podcast from, if you have any questions about any of these podcast picks of the week, give me a call, 617-379-1163. Or if you want to leave a message for Father Bill, we'll make sure we get it to him. The Podfather, whoever, or email us at help@friendsandrecoverypodcast.com. And again, we want to thank Genesis House and of course Taylor for keeping all this going, and especially in this time when we need to be communicating and talking to each other and keeping our spirits up. So, Father Bill, before we went to commercial, I had to interrupt you because your connection was a little rough. So, do you want to talk a little bit about what you were saying about the bombing, I guess, and the
we were talking about this, especially both areas. Newtown was probably the most of all the most horrific. Devastating and saddest thing that I have ever had to deal with. And ATF called me in hours after it happened, and I flew down to Newtown from East Hampton here. And I remember just walking into the EOC, and everybody looked up, and nobody expected me except the SAC from ATF. And it was a general, boy, are we glad you're here. Now, I wasn't even from their area, or from their department. They were just glad, and it wasn't me. It was that there was a priest, a chaplain, who knew what they were going through and was someone who would understand what was going on. Mm-hmm. And a lot of time, my ministry was just that, sitting around, and people would come down and put a hand on my shoulder and say, glad you're here. Yeah. And I was trying to figure out what was the best thing to do because the tension was running so high. And I had friends who had 2 St. Bernard dogs as comfort therapy dogs up from Greenfield, Massachusetts, the Greenfield PD. So I gave him a call and invited them to come down. And they happened to come down the day that Eric Holder showed up from Washington. And we brought the dogs in, and it was like bringing me in. The place went nuts, you know. And these two huge St. Bernards just walked around, and everybody, for 5 minutes, everything stopped. Everybody wanted to pet the dog, hug the dog, get a picture with the dog. It was just like this sigh of relief that came over the EOC.
So true.
And so we used that. We brought them down to the first responders, to the local PD, the local fire. And then we started bringing around where families had been gathered. And it was just in the midst of this horror, there was a moment of semblance of normalcy. And everybody got to, pet the dog and have pictures and hug the dogs. And it was really quite an amazing thing. It was the first time we'd ever done that. And now, because of that, there is a national comfort therapy dog response team throughout the country. And wherever something happens, we can pull in comfort therapy dogs instantaneously. Now, as we've seen, so many departments have gone from canine units, which they use on the streets, but we have comfort therapy dogs to actually use both for our staffs, for our own people, and for those that we're dealing with. And that was a great thing.
Mass State Troopers just got a dog, didn't they? Recently? I remember Jimmy telling me.
We got 2 now.
Oh, 2, okay.
We have 2. Yeah, the Colonel's been great. I mean, under Kerry Gilpin previously, and now under Chris Mason. The EAU now has 2 dogs.
Yeah. And
I work a lot with our EAU, obviously, and go out with them quite a bit and try to buffer because I can bring them in because we not only, the state police EAU, not only serve the state police, they serve all the municipalities around us so that any department who needs help in a crisis can call the state police EAU, and then we have people that's all they do. And I go in and, like, as you remember, Jimmy Massari, when he was head of the unit, and now Sergeant Karen Dunphy has the unit, and doing great things, and it's a tough time now because we're doing everything through telecommunication. We're doing FaceTime, we're doing Zooms, we're doing, these podcasts I think are phenomenal. Trying to keeping a balance, like any crisis that we respond to, you've got to bring some semblance of normalcy into a very abnormal set of circumstances.
Yeah.
And so, and I think that kind of segues, I don't mean to cut you short, but into the whole addiction thing, because it's trying to keep a semblance of normalcy into something that's traumatic. And so that's the one thing we can do during this time is inviting people to keep a normal routine and to reach out to people, do the FaceTime, do the talking, do the podcasts, take some time to just relax. As you said earlier, listen to some good music, take a deep breath. When things start getting tense, make that call, talk to somebody,
Absolutely. The Podfather had a question. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it was a comment. Father Bill, I'm a retired police officer from Lowell, Massachusetts, 35 years.
By the way, happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
They're more important now than before.
Yeah.
You're still having them.
Far and few between. But I can't tell you how many times as a young cop, even as a middle-aged cop, going out on calls to let family members know their son had died in a car accident. Right. I had 5 very close friends die in a plane crash. They were all 5 Lowell police officers, and they were hunting, and their plane went down, and they all succumbed. But I had to go tell my best friend's wife, her husband wasn't coming home, and Father Robichaud was our chaplain in Lowell, and he was always on call. And what I loved about Father Robichaud was he was also the fire department's chaplain. So he had a red light and a blue light, and he had a little Chevy Blazer, and he'd be cutting through town, running red lights up on the sidewalk. I mean, he drove like a madman. He thought that light gave him permission to go anywhere. Of course, no one ever bothered him either, But
sure.
What a comfort to a police officer who we do not know these people. This could be our family. It's a very incongruous job to go and knock on the door of a total stranger at 1 o'clock in the morning to inform them that their child had been killed in an accident. And there's no manual for that. I mean, maybe nowadays there is, but back then there wasn't. But always, always the first question out of any cop's mouth was always, is the chaplain busy? Can you call the chaplain? Can you have the chaplain meet me? And it was always just such a comfort. And to me, I don't think people realized in other professions, how lucky the police and fire were to have somebody that would, and then with our own tragedies, would be there for us around the clock. I mean, this guy just was never, ever left our sides, always there. We couldn't give him enough praise when he left. He actually moved up to Maine, and he died a very tragic death, actually, after he left. But what a great guy. And we just loved him. And he was also very involved in a badge meeting that we put together for cops that had alcohol and drug problems from all over, all different cities and towns, You do wonderful work.
That's one of the most important things. And it's hard sometimes to get people, even with state, I've always said, never do a notification without a chaplain. But I know it's being done.
Right.
Well,
and yet, when the chaplain is there, when it's over, did you lose me?
No, Ged, you're good.
Okay. When the chaplain is there, I spend more time with the individual making the notification afterwards than sometimes we spend with the family making the notification.
That was my point, 100% my point.
And yet when I'm there with the notification, I can be corralling family members from outside that particular family to come for support. I'm making who's your clergy person? Who can we call to come to be with you so that you're not alone? I actually have a case where I was going out to dinner one night and we're standing outside a restaurant, and all of a sudden this cruiser comes flying down the street, lights and sirens, and it stops in front of the restaurant. And this young cop jumped out, and we're all looking at each other, and he starts running for us. And the next thing I know, I'm in his arms. And he says, "Father Bill, I became a cop because of you." And I said, "Not a priest?" And we all laughed. He said, "No, I became a cop." And he said, when I was a kid, you had to come to our house to tell our family that my brother had been killed in an accident. And you and the sergeant that came to us impressed me so much. I wanted to become a cop.
Great
story. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that.
No, that's for
sure. Those are the kind of kudos that I live for. Yeah. That you've made a difference in someone's life and someone is carrying on what you have done.
That's amazing.
Just by mere presence.
Absolutely. Yep. That's a great story.
We're going to run out of time here, but thank you very much for everything.
We can do it again.
We would.
Yes, please.
We're going to bring you a cigar next time, okay?
Okay. I'll do that. All right. Sounds like a plan.
Maybe when you're feeling better, you can come up to the studio and join us in the studio when all this.
I would love to.
Good.
I would love to.
That's great. Thank you, Father.
Right. God bless you, Father Bill. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy Easter. So
he has risen.
Yes. Amen. Podfather. So
wow.
So did that bring back?
You did it again, Eddie. You bring on the best guest. I got to tell you this. You know what? That's my birthday present right there. This to me, I love my kids, my family. Nothing's more important. But I got to tell you this. Listening to Father Bill and what he's talking about, because I'll tell you, there's no script. There's no manual to go wake up a poor Portuguese woman at 1 o'clock in the morning and tell her only son, her husband's not around, he's dead, her only son, who she's got pictures all through the house of the Pope and her son, and that was it. And Father Robichaud, I'll tell you, when he showed up, I knew I could do this, and we got through it. But man, I'll tell you, what a great guest. You do it every time, buddy. You're surprising us.
But Father Bill, I mean, I've been in touch with him. Him and I worked on a couple cases with the EAU. EAU stands for Employee Assistance Unit for everybody's wondering. EAP, EAU. They just call their unit EAU. And when I met him, I was like, I like this guy, and this whole week that he's been calling me and my wife trying to get everything set up, and I enjoy talking to him, and he's a breath of fresh air. He actually kept me from not saying any potty words today.
I texted. I want to tell Sweets before we started. I texted Eddie. I said no F-bombs.
Yeah. I like it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
Smart
yes.
move.
So
Smart move.
I was very watching what I was saying, but
Well, he's working with cops. I'm sure he hears a lot of them.
I'm
So.
sure he does. So Podfather, real quick, I know we have a little bit left here for time. Give me a story. You're like, I know you gave us a story about the chaplain, but what does a chaplain mean to you, number one? And
so
give
much.
me a story about why a chaplain. I would have never thought until I got involved with the EAU up in Massachusetts and you.
Yep.
I never thought they had a chaplain
Oh
involved.
yeah, sure. Well, I came on in 1980, and the chaplain we had then was from St. Patrick's Church. His father Cornell. He